Now, with the rise of social media, anyone can try and present themselves as something they're not. And I feel like the guys who have the biggest chance to be exposed as frauds are these guys who going around the internet claiming to be alpha males, while in actuality half of them just have a strong distaste for women. These guys probably makes as much money as your next door neighbor Sarah on OnlyFans, preying on insecure and lost men. They have to beat their chest and shout alpha every single minute because they know that if they don't, people will know that they were just nerds who only get girls when they're actually rich and famous. And these are totally the type of people that you want to avoid from if you are unsure about your own masculinity. Masculinity in itself is a very sensitive topic, but one that we need to address carefully to avoid ourselves from scumbags like Heartbreak Nino on the internet who just wants women to be more like a pet than anything else.
I do love your mother, but she's more like a pet to me.
A pet?
Alpha! You either have one of two opinions on masculinity. On one hand, you might think that the role of masculinity is just a social construct and isn't something that we need to be worried about. While on the other hand, you might think that classical masculinity is already dying. It is really interesting how these two views are the exact opposite from each other. So here's my take on this. I don't think that masculinity is a social construct. In the book The Way of Men by Jack Donovan, he states that masculinity is an inherent trait deeply rooted in the forms of tribalism. In the early days of men are the ones who are expected to hunt, protect, and provide, while women are to be shielded and bear children. We started out in a tribal society and smaller groups. What defines your worth was your contributions that you are able to provide for the group. So that's why when each time a man is succeeded in a hunt, they are instantly rewarded with high levels of testosterone and dopamine. It's basically the same feeling of you devouring your favorite donut or ice cream or popped ice chicken sandwich.
I just want to look at my boy in the back.
This makes them happy and able to recognize their own worth. This is why men had to become strong to protect their pride and honor. Jack also said that there are 3 qualifications to be a man. You need strength, mastery, and courage. Strength stems to your physical and mental attributes, while mastery is a skill that develops over time with discipline and a purpose, and courage which helps you when you are attacked by an enemy. He addressed courage as gameness, the street dog mentality which makes you willing to bite back when you are attacked. Like, you ever seen 2 rabid dogs in a fight? Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's on some real John Wick shit. All of these traits is a path you need to be a man. Well, at least back then. But now that society have progressed and expanded, we are no longer bound in small groups, and because of technology, our lives have been easier. We no longer have to hunt, we no longer have to fight. Not that there are no wars or conflicts in some parts of the world, but the majority of us are living better. With technology, it's no wonder now that some people have the views of classical masculine men being wiped out with millennials or us Gen Zs. We have VR technology and game consoles to entertain us all day. We don't have to fight if someone's called us a bitch. We just have to use our fingers and shout into the mic. So why would we bother with being manly or not? But I think that in some ways we still need those 3 traits. If we are only going forward with sheer pleasure alone, then there's only so far we can go. Maybe that's why a lot of successful people in sports or business just loses that joy at the peak and heights of their careers. And they just retires and goes skydiving around the world naked or something. Or worse, loses their minds and money. It's almost like when you lose your power source and you're no longer able to tap in that same energy anymore. They loses what makes them great. We no longer have a common enemy. Now instead of us versus nature, it's us versus us. That's why this line from Fight Club is really impactful.
We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives.
Because of that, we had to have our own spiritual war, which is so much harder because it's never ending and it's always progressing. It's only conceptual. That's why a lot of men are lost. We needed something to prove ourselves, and because we lived in a different society now, we had to look for new ways, and sometimes we're not looking in the right directions. We idolize gang cultures who are aggressive, violent, but have honor, respect, and brotherhood in their own rights. It's not because they are good men, but they are good at being men. No wonder I'm obsessed with Peaky Blinders. Damn. Men can recognize that respect because it has always been demanded out of us throughout history. People may hate us for it, but we liked it. Though that's also where it could lead to toxic masculinity. We may understand an urge for it, but that doesn't mean that we could always be it. Toxic masculinity stems from expectations. Men are expected to be strong, honorable, and stoic, while for women it would be undermined, inferior, and always needing to be protected. While I don't think that masculinity is a social construct, I still don't think that it is something that should be expected upon. With expectations comes responsibilities, and when we fall short of that, we become resentful towards ourselves and others. When we are not sure of who we are more susceptible to what people want us to be. Although the depictions of masculinity are slowly changing, it is still far off because we have social media. The internet drove our standards for our ideal self even more. It's only showing the highlights of a lot of people's shitty lives. There are many people who are just desperate to impress even more people because of pressure and their high standards. It's all a facade, and I'm one of them. I mean, everything I say right now is basically scripted, and how do you know I'm even real? It's just part of the game. Ultimately, we care about how people view us, and that's why we are trying to look better than we actually are. There's nothing wrong with trying to be better and self-improve, but when we are doing it to feel enough or be accepted, then it's never gonna end because there will always be something that we lacked. If your life is a total mess and you're only sitting around eating junk food or playing games all day, then the last thing you want to hear from people is how perfect you are just the way you are. That's why we crave to be inspired, motivated, and look up to people better than ourselves. That's why when I don't want to go to the gym or workplace or running in the morning, I had to watch a David Goggins clip cursing me 3,000 times per minute just to get my engine up.
What are you doing?
I'm back, motherfucker! I'm back!
When I'm struggling in life, I had to remember how hard Kobe Bryant's work ethic and how he practiced every single day non-stop. Idolizing all these people, influencers, and the greatest to ever do it gives us strength, hope, and guidance in real life to avoid our internal conflicts. No matter if they are real or not, seeing them doing all these unbelievable tasks makes us want to try and be like them in some ways. David Goggins is truly the epitome of a man. If you have 3,000 Goggins, then you could probably conquer the whole world. He ran marathons, joined the army, broke multiple world records, and just kept running every day. I don't know why he ran, but he just ran. Sometimes he ran so hard his body was all torn up, but he still dragged himself all the while calling his injured leg a bitch. He pushed himself even more with that. Who does that?
But this is the one thing that almost stopped me from feeling my dreams.
No, 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 no.
What a crazy motherfucker. Kobe practiced and puts more hours than anybody else in the league at that time. He don't have the best body, but what he did have was pure will. They inspired me to reach for my dreams and put in the work that I need. However, what makes following them and looking up to them toxic is when we set such high standards for ourselves. Being like them is such a colossal task. They are almost something beyond reach for an average Joe. Being like Goggins meant that you can't show any weaknesses. which could often lead to stoicism, the inability to show emotions or any feelings even when you are in pain, because that's what men are expected to be. And when we try so hard just to fall short from that expectation, it leads to general frustrations and outlash and anger. Instead of setting the bar lower, we pushes people away from us. Eventually, we break a part of ourselves and the worst of us came out. This is a general trope of toxic masculinity. That's why we see kids trying so hard to be gangsters or fighters all the time, but when pushes come to shove, they can't do anything about it because they don't know what they want.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're that guy. Okay.
This applies to both men and women. You may hate your body or feel like you are inadequate, but you need to understand that there is no such thing as an ideal image. Striving for perfection isn't the answer. Addressing your weaknesses and who you are is. You don't want to be an immoral narcissist, and you also don't want to feel worthless. Then just learn to be incorruptible. You are allowed to show emotions, powerlessness, and feel inferior. Likewise, you don't have to be afraid to show who you are to other people despite judgments. You don't have to be desperate to prove anything or be like anyone else. Nor should you be trying to make improvements for any other reasons than just because you wanted to. I think this is the best possible route for self-improvements. You don't have to be a David Goggins because you're not him. You can seek inspirations, but that doesn't mean being like them is the end goal. Just like how Kobe don't want to be like Mike. You may still care about how people think of you, but you don't have to be desperate for it. Having more strength, mastery, and courage will definitely give men more purpose and means in life. It will help you get rid of that melee and spiritual battle that you have to have. Out of all these traits, I totally agree that I need more gameness in me. I'm Asian, so a lot of people think that I'm a pussy and woman keeps me away from it. It's just a joke. Never happened.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap.
I need that ability to just take more risk and do things without contemplating too much on it and take the fight head on. All of the other traits are still relevant to me, like mastery. I think I should need to put more time into just cultivating one thing at a time than just a mesh of everything. That's what makes people like Habib special, because all they do is wrestle. Wrestling guys, wrestling girls, wrestling bears, and they do it all the time. It is a way for us to be a man. Being a man does not always mean everything if we don't even know ourselves. That's why this clip of Mike Tyson truly resonates with me.
That's why I'm so feared. That's why they feared me when I was in the ring, because I was an annihilator. That's all I was born for. And now those days are gone. It's empty. I'm nothing. I'm working on being the art of humbleness. Can you believe in me? That's the reason why I'm crying, because I'm not that person no more. And I miss him. Because sometimes I feel like a bitch. Because I don't want that person to come out, because if he comes out, hell is coming with him. And it's not funny at all. It must sound cool, like I'm a tough guy. It's just, I hate that guy. I'm scared of him.
It shows us how complex finding ourselves is, even for a man like him who has already proved himself more than enough that he is a man. But Mike still has his weaknesses and crises afterwards. Being a man does not mean everything, but it has always meant something. Classical masculinity is naturally demanded, but it's not always the right ways. We have to just accept ourselves and progress in our own pace. It's not something unreachable, nor is it far-fetched. It's not an excuse for unjust behaviors. To say boys will be boys and you're not drawn in or dependent on anyone's outlook on you. Meanwhile, we would still maintain the old saying of I would rather be a warrior in a farm than a farmer in a war. And that's how I think masculinity should be. It's a choice, a work in progress, and a natural urge where we should just accept as a part of ourselves. For those of you who have already practiced or will practice this form of masculinity, I promised, greatness is coming. Cheers.